Hi guys, today I'm super excited for this video because I have like hair all over the place. This is a video that I've been meaning to do for quite some time because this is a palette that came out a little while ago. I mean, in the makeup world, everything is old, right? But this is the new palette from Bella Beauty bar, and this is the Smokey Glam palette. I did get this sent in PR, but I did get it quite late, so that is why this video is a little bit late. And I also wanted to do enough looks with this to not only inspire you and show you what this palette can do, but also just to make up my mind about this palette, because with their latest palette, which was the Pastel Garden palette, I did have a couple of issues with the shimmers in here creasing really badly on me, and some of the mattes weren't as pigmented as maybe I would have liked, so I wanted to make sure that I took enough time with this palette to really make up my mind. And I feel like I'm at the point now where I have made up my mind about this, but this is available now. I do have an affiliated code with Bella Beauty Bar, which is just Annette, and it will save you 10% off. So yeah, I have done 3 looks with this. We're going to do 1 look on camera today, and so far I have to admit I've had such a good time with this palette, and I do not want to put it down. Like, I've kind of filmed this video over, I want to say, a week and a half. I've kind of like thrown in other things in between, and then I've done a look with this when I've had like time to play with this. So we're gonna do another look, and me knowing the looks that I've already done today, I really want to do something with like the grays and the blacks, maybe a little bit of the purple. And yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. Maybe one of the silvers on the lid. And then I do want to pull in probably one of the shades from the Pastel Garden palette as well. One of the mattes, so that we can do like a bright inner corner pop. I think that could be kind of fun. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started, because otherwise this video is going to be too long, because like I said, I've done 3 looks and I will show you those obviously at the end of the video. But I feel like for me, this palette is very much like what I'm looking for in a neutral palette. It's got like some exciting shades in there. It's got beautiful, beautiful shimmers that are so sparkly, so metallic, so beautiful. And it also has tones of mattes that are maybe not like the most common to see in neutral palettes, but you still have your basic like cool tone browns and transition shades. And there are some pinks and purples thrown in. And I just think it's a beautiful palette. Usually I wouldn't be like drawn to mauves and stuff like that, but I feel like having used this palette now, maybe mauve suits me better than I think they do. I'm not sure, but I've had a really good time with this, and I've enjoyed all the looks that I've done. And I think 2 of the looks ended up being like somewhat similar, but one ended up definitely being very colorful and bright and fun. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with, I'll admit I haven't really dipped into like this green corner down here, but these green tones aren't really, I feel like they're not that suitable for my skin tone. So I haven't really played with those, but I've played with basically like the rest of this palette, because this is the palette, this is the side of the palette, like the rest of it, that excites me. So I'm gonna start with one of the gray tones. I think I'm just gonna go in with this one, which is very much just like a basic mid-tone gray, and we're gonna use that as a transition shade. I don't think I want to do anything like crazy with the shape of this. I played around with shapes with the other looks, so I think this is going to be kind of basic shape wise, and then we'll play with like something in the inner corner. That is a really pretty color. Like, that went on so nicely. Yeah, so far I've had absolutely no issues at all with any of the shades in this palette, and I've just had a really good time with it. And I think if you're looking for a nice different neutral palette, this would be a really, really nice one to add to your collection. Now, is it a little maybe too big? I feel like there are some shades in here that are quite repetitive, especially the shimmers. I feel like they did a better job with the mattes, keeping them fairly different, but again, it definitely could have been edited down. But that is just me speaking from my preferences and not like loving super big palettes. I would rather have a little bit more of a curated color story, and I don't need like 3 tones of the same color to like be able to build on top of each other. Like, I'm totally fine with just 2, you know, because you can mix colors together as well. So I do feel like there are maybe a couple of shades that are a little bit repetitive, but I also understand that she wanted to keep it the same size as the Pastel Garden palette. So in that sense, it definitely makes sense. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up with this gray. I'm not gonna do the shade under my eye because I really want to use the dark purple in here, and it's so annoying. I have like a canker sore in my mouth, like right in there, so like when I speak I feel like I'm irritating it, and I'm just now noticing that because I have not been talking a lot today. But I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna do the under eye shade before I deepen up the outer corner. I find it a little bit easier to just kind of control where it is that I want things to. That is so pigmented and so pretty. This is going to be a very, very smoky and dramatic look, and I'm excited. because I don't usually play with these kind of colors, especially like, that is so pigmented. I know I already said that, but I've only dipped into this shade once, and it is like stretching very far. Just blending it upwards a little bit just to kind of connect with that gray in the outer corner. And I think I want to use the sparkling black because I kind of want to try that. I'm a little bit worried I'm going to get some fallout with it. Actually, I'm going to use the regular black first, and then I'll go in with some of the sparkling black to just put over the top when I've done the shimmers, because I feel like trying to blend that sparkling black might not be the best idea. It might create some fallout that I don't need to create. So I'm gonna grab the black, which is this one on my Rephr 13. This is the one called Smoked Out. And we're just gonna try to deepen up this look and see what kind of black this is. It's definitely looking to be quite black, but I wouldn't say it's like a jet black. It's almost more like a dark grayish black, but that also makes sense, I feel like, with this color story and with this palette. And I think the sparkly black is more of like a black that is performing so well. This is like really nice, and it's weird to say creamy because it's obviously a powder, but it has a really nice kind of creamy quality to it. And I think that that is a really, really nice black, just like the other mattes in this palette too. They've just been really nice and fun to work with, and I feel like they really did something with this formula. Like, it's probably the same formula as the pastel palette, but I think just given the colors of these shades, maybe these are just easier to work with, because making colorful shades is always a lot harder. Even if you have the same formula, there might be differences in like how the shades perform just depending on the color, because different colors use different pigments. That is at least just my understanding. So just from my experience having used a ton of eyeshadows, neutral shades and shades like this definitely tend to perform better in general. That looks so good. Like, this is so nice and smoky. I love that. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna do my inner corner shade, because I am going to layer shimmers over the top. So I want to make sure I have that down first, because going in with a matte over a shimmer is not going to be as easy as going in with just a matte first. So I think I'm going to use a white base today, because I really want this shade to pop, whichever it is that I end up using. So I'm going to try this one from Suva. This is called the Prime and Paint. I do have one of their opaques, which is also white, but I feel like this is more... I don't feel like it works as well as a base. I feel like it dries down too quickly and it gets kind of crusty. So I think this is going to be more of like an eyeshadow primer. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna go ahead and try that. It comes with a giant doe foot applicator, so I'm gonna do just a little, can I do little? Just a little bit like in the inner corner here, and then we're gonna blend that out and see how that ends up looking. I don't want too much of this. I want this to be a pretty precise application. So I'm just taking a brush here and I'm gonna, okay, so it's not looking super white. Maybe using the opaques would have been better, because this is just blending out to kind of be nothing, but it will give me at least a little bit of a sticky base to put the shadow on top of. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more. I'm surprised at like how easily that blended out. Like, I'm not sure if that is a good thing or a bad thing, especially in this instance. Maybe you just need to put on more. Like, it's definitely showing up, but it's not like super white. I'm not sure exactly what this product is marketed as. Just taking a bit of a clean brush just to make sure that I kind of blend the edges of that base here. And let's see, what is gonna go nicely with this look? I feel like kind of all of the colors in here. I'm thinking that blue maybe could be fun. Even this one could be fun and different, like even this one. Honestly, any of these pastels could be kind of fun. I feel like, okay, for a color combination I've never done before, let's go with like this one. If it ends up being a little bit too dark, I will layer some of the white shade in the other palette over the top, but I'm gonna try this one. This is a shade called, wow, I picked the wrong one, Ranunculus. Don't ask me what that means. But I'm just gonna go ahead and pack that very heavily in the inner corner. That is so cool. And I feel like this is a really fun way to spice up more of a neutral look, especially if you're not going as like colorful as I have today. Like, obviously I wouldn't call this a neutral look at all. I mean, yeah, I do have some grays in my crease and some black, but I definitely don't think that this is necessarily a neutral look. The shadow is laying nicely on top of that base though, but I'm not sure how I feel about that, like as a white base. I feel like it's just not as white as I would have liked. I don't know. Should I go in with a bit of the white over the top of this as well, just to test it out and see how pigmented this white is, and also just to brighten this up a little bit? I'm trying to find like a small brush to do that with. Let's do this one. This is the Morphe E36. I'm just gonna dip into the white matte in the palette here, and I'm just gonna do a little bit over the top of this just to brighten it. Yeah, you can see a pretty big difference already. This seems to be quite a pigmented matte white. Yeah, I think I like this side more than this side. I really like having a very bright inner corner shade, and I think that this is exactly what I wanted to do. So don't be afraid to like mix shades. It's one of my favorite things to do with the Blend Bunny palettes. I find that since there's always a matte white in there, I can make like any shade, or not always a matte white, but a lot of the time there is a matte white. So a lot of the time I like using a matte white in there blended with one of the other shades and use that as my inner corner shade. But yeah, I really like this. So now we're gonna do some shimmers. There's a lot of steps to this look. I'm gonna use my NYX glitter primer, of course. I'm using the EO1 brush from Cinch, and I'm gonna take, I feel like I've played with most of these like pinky purplish shimmers, so I really want to use this one. This is very much just like a basic gray shade, but I think with this look, it's just gonna look really nice. Like this one has a bit of a, you know what, maybe I'll use this one because it has a bit of a green shift, which I think is gonna go nicely with the inner corner shade. So we're gonna try this. This one swatched so insanely metallic that I feel like there's no way I'm not gonna like this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and basically put this all over my lid, and then we will work on the outer corner blend a little bit more after. But yeah, that is so pretty. It's definitely very, very, very metallic. And I'm happy to report that there is no hard pan in this palette. I feel like I've had so many palettes lately that I've just had issues with the shimmers, which makes me annoyed because shimmers is like one of my favorite things when it comes to eyeshadows. So when I run into shimmers that like either get hard pan or like crease on me and just, you know, give me a hard time, it makes me sad. But with this palette, I've had absolutely no issues at all, and I've just had a really, really good time with this. Couple more steps here before I'm done. I think I want to do I want to do anything underneath my eye like here shimmer wise? I don't think so. I think I want to just take a little of this bright pink shade just to add a little bit of pink right here. I think this was a very good choice. And then just because I'm so curious about the black with shimmers in it, I do want to use a little bit of that just to see if the shimmer actually shows up, which is this one right here. When I swatched it, you could definitely see the shimmers in it. It's called Black Onyx. I'm just not sure how it's going to like look on the eye, so I'm just gonna kind of pat that on without doing too much blending here. Okay, I'm not really seeing the shimmers on the eyes, which I wasn't really expecting to, but I think if you were to put down this and like really pack it on over a tacky primer or something, like maybe you could get the sparkles to come out. So for me, I didn't need two black mattes in this palette because it's not that easy to actually get the shimmers to show. But I do think this looks really nice. Do I want to do anything else like rhinestones or anything? I'm kind of feeling the look the way it is right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off. If I do change my mind, I'll just tell you what I did after, but I think this is really pretty. This lash is not perfect, please ignore that. I don't feel like really fixing it. I'm sure you can't even see it, but it feels a little off. I'm sure if you wear lashes, you know exactly what I mean. But like I said, I don't feel like fixing it because I'm not going anywhere today. I'm basically just gonna sit it on the rest of the day. And if it bothers me, I'm just gonna take it off. So this is the final look, and I really like how this turned out. I think it is so fun. It's like colorful, but still neutral, but at the same time, interesting. So I really enjoy this, and I'm going to show you the other looks that I've done with this palette now. And I'll be completely honest, I don't remember all of the looks that I've done so far because I said it earlier in the video, but I filmed these over probably a period of like a week and a half. So there were a couple of days in between, and I don't really remember exactly what I've done with these looks, but I will say So far, the experience that I've had with this palette has been amazing. The mattes are super easy to work with. They're pigmented without being like too pigmented straight off the bat. They blend and build so beautifully. They're very smooth, very kind of creamy feeling to the touch, like a velvety feeling, which makes them really easy to blend, and they've built really nicely on top of each other as well. The shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. My only issue, I would say, is that I feel like some of them are a little too similar, but again, they wanted to fill out the palette and have enough shimmers, and I think that they could have maybe just picked a couple of different tones in here that wouldn't be so similar to each other, but still have gone with the palette. Like, I don't know exactly what that would be, but I feel like there could have been like some small tweaks done. Other than that, the shimmers have worn really well on me. I was pleasantly surprised because, like I said, I did have some creasing with the Pastel Garden palette, so I wasn't sure if these shimmers would agree with me or not, but so far I'm happy to say that all of the shimmers that I've worn in this palette, which I think is most of them, there's maybe like 2 that I haven't used yet, but I've had nothing but a good time with them. They've looked beautiful. They're so just dimensional and pretty and sparkly and metallic on the eyes that if you like these kind of formulas, you're gonna love this palette. And if you have hooded eyes like myself, I did not have any creasing with these. They wore really well on me. I wore most of these for very long days, or at least 8 hours, and they still looked really pretty at the end of the day. So I'm really happy to have this palette in my collection. I don't know if it's necessarily going to become like my go-to neutral palette, but I feel like there are tones in here that I'm gonna want to reach for that I don't feel like I really have in like a lot of other palettes. So I think it's a really beautiful palette, and I'm so happy to have it. I would have bought this palette myself if I wasn't set this in PR. Like, that is how excited I was to have this in my collection, because I feel like it's just really pretty. And you all know that I've been way more into like neutral shades and stuff like that lately, even though I don't do a lot of full neutral looks, but I like neutral looks paired with fun things. I like spicing up a neutral look. I think that's kind of like where I like the challenge of using neutral shades and then making it kind of fun and interesting and different and me. And I feel like with this palette, I can definitely do that, and you can definitely do a lot of looks that aren't neutral with this palette as well. So yeah, I think those are going to be my thoughts. Let me know if you picked up this palette. Let me know if you picked up the Pastel Garden palette and how you feel about that one. I hope personally that Bella Beauty Bar will start coming out with some smaller palettes again. I do feel like these are nice, but they're maybe just a little bit too big. Just for my liking, I prefer something just a little bit smaller, like a little bit more curated. How many shades are even in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a lot of shades. That's 36 shades. That's a lot of shades. Like, I wish I could see some like 16 to 24 pan palettes if they're gonna go in like the larger direction. But 36 is a lot. Like, that's, we don't need 36 pans of shades in a palette. Wow, I can't speak. But that is just my opinion. I like smaller palettes, but not too small. Like, I prefer, I think my sweet spot is like 12 to 18. Something like that. That's kind of like where I prefer my palettes to be. So these are a little overwhelming for me, but I also understand that a lot of people like really large palettes. So yeah, these might be for you. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know what you think of the looks. Which one was your favorite? I would love to know. If you want to see some more Bella Beauty Bar content, I will put my playlist up on the screen. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.